Today we're going to work on solving multi-digit multiplication problems with the standard algorithm, the partial products method, and the area model. Our instructions say solve the following expressions using the standard algorithm, the partial product method, and the area model. The first one that I'm going to demonstrate for you is 425 times 4. First, we'll use the standard algorithm, and I'm going to label that SA. For the standard algorithm, I do 425 times 4, and I do 5 ones times 4, and I get 20. My 0 goes in my ones place, and my 2 goes in on the line. Then I do 2 tens times 4, which is 8 tens, and 8 tens plus 2 tens is 10 tens. So 10 tens equals 100. So I know I put a 0 in my tens place, and I put my 100 in the hundreds place, and I cross out my 20 for my 2 tens that was left over from 5 times 4. And then I do 4 hundreds times 4, which is 16 hundreds. And then 16 hundreds plus another 100 is 17 hundreds. And I put my 17 hundreds equals 1,700. So I put my 700 in the hundreds place, and I put my 1,000 in the thousands place, and I cross out my 100 because I used it. That's my standard algorithm. Then I'm going to put P and another P for partial product. I'm going to do 425 times 4. For this one, I do 5 ones times 4, which gives me 20. Then I'm going to do 2 tens times 4, which gives me 80. And then I'm going to do 4 hundreds times 4, which gives me 4 hundreds times 4 is 16 tens, which is the same thing as 1,600. And I'm going to add those all together. And I get 0. And then my 20 plus 80 is 100, so I put my 0 there, put my 100 on the line. 600 plus 100 is 700, and then we have our 1,700. So that's partial products. And remember, when I was doing my 5 ones times 4 ones, I got 20, which is 2 tens. When I did my 2 tens times 4, I got 8 tens. And then when I did my 4 hundreds times 4, I got 16 hundreds. And that's how I got 2 tens equals 20, 8 tens equals 80, 16 hundreds equals 1,600, and then I just added those all up to get my 1,700. Now I'm going to do area model, and I have 3 boxes to represent my ones, my tens, and my hundreds. So my first box is going to represent my ones. My next box is going to represent my tens, and my last box is going to represent my hundreds. So what we're multiplying is 400 times 420, and then 5. So I'm going to make it in black just so you can understand a little bit easier. So 425 is made out of 4 hundreds, 2 tens, 5 ones. So our 400 goes in the hundreds box, above the hundreds box. The 20 goes above the tens box, and the 5 goes above the ones box. And we're multiplying those all by 4. So first thing I can do is 4 times 5, which gives me 20. Then I do 20 times 4, or 4 times 20, and that gives me 80, because 4 times 2 is 8, and then 0 times 4 is 0, so I get 80. And then I'm going to do 400 times 4, and I know 0 times 4 is 0. My other 0 times 4 is still 0. And then 4 times 4 is 16. So I get 1,600. And then it looks like this, really. We're doing 4 times 400 plus 20 plus 5. So we're using that expanded form that we learned about in 2nd grade to help us with our multiplication, because right here is our expanded form. And then what we're going to do is we would add our 4 times 400 plus 4 times 20 plus 4 times 5. And that's going to give us 1,600, or 1,600 plus 80 plus 20. And again, we have our expanded form, and that equals 1,700. So you can use these 3 methods to help you answer multi-digit multiplication problems. We have our standard algorithm, we have our partial products, and then we have our area model. I'm going to show you another problem using the same exact methods, and that way it will help you see a little bit better how to solve the problems. For this problem, we have a word problem, and we're going to be using the standard algorithm, the partial product, and area model to solve. But first, we need to use the redraw right method to see what the problem says. So the problem is Kayla's school has 258 students. Janet's school has 3 times as many students as Kayla's. How many students are in Janet's school? Well, we know that Kayla's school has 258 students. Janet's school has 3 times as many students as Kayla's. We're trying to figure out how many students are in Janet's school. So the first thing we should do is draw a tape diagram to help us understand this a little bit better. We know that Kayla's school has 258 students. Now, we know that Janet's school has 3 times that amount. And we're not sure what that total is. So we can use the standard algorithm to help us solve. And that would be doing 258 times 3. I know that 8 times 3 is, or 8 ones times 3 is 24 ones. So my 4 goes in the ones place and my 2 goes on the line, because 24 ones equals 2 tens, and 4 ones. Then I'm going to do my 5 tens times 3. My 5 tens times 3 gives me 15 tens, and I'm adding on those 2 tens left over from my ones place. 15 tens plus 2 tens is 17 tens. So 17 tens gives me 170. So I put my 70 in the tens place, and then I put my 100 on the line. Then I do 200s times 3. 200s times 3 gives me 600s, and then I add my 100 on, and I get 700s, and 700s goes in the 700s place, so I get 774. The next one I'm going to do is partial product. I'm going to do 258 times 3. I do 8 ones times 3. 8 ones times 3 is 24 ones. So I write 24, which is 2 tens, 4 ones. The next thing I do is 5 tens times 3. 5 tens times 3 is, I get 15 tens. And 15 tens is the same thing as 150. The next thing I do is 200s times 3, and 200s times 3 is 600s. So I write down 600, and then I add these all together. 4 plus 0 plus 0 is 4. 20 plus 50 is 70. And then 100 plus 600 is 700. So I get 774. Then I'm going to do area model. My first box is where my hundreds go, and that would be 200, then 50, and 8, and we're multiplying this all by 3. I know that 3 times 8 is 24. 0 times 3 is 0. 5 times 3 is 15, so I get 150. 0 times 3 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. And then 2 times 3 is 6, so I get 600. And then I do 600 plus 150 plus 24. And if I add that all together, I am going to get 774. And I need to write this in a sentence. So I know that Janet's school has 774 students. You can use standard algorithm, partial product, and area model to solve regular multi-digit multiplication problems or word problems that involve multi-digit numbers. Please use this video to help you solve your problems, and I hope you find a strategy that's just right for you to solve your multiplication problems.